I can't hear you there, Paul. I got nothing. Got nothing.
Am I muted?
There we go. Here? There we go. I got you now.
You got me now?
I got you now.
So I take it that nobody heard that I just did.
Were you already ranting about Corbin Burnes?
No, I was not.
So you saved the good stuff until you had sound. So
man, you are so much larger than me on screen right now. I don't mean like in your stature. I mean like you take up your whole screen, and I'm like this little guy, like this, like so much space up here. I feel like I need to get like a couple of dictionaries or something to sit on, or a little booster seat or something here.
Well, you have a nicer backdrop with some nice pictures back there and everything. I've got a blank wall, so I got to fill up the space a little more.
I got a blank page, baby, and I'll write your name, Dillon. I will write your name. All right, let's do this. Take two. Welcome to the Bat Around. I'm your host, Paul Valley. He is Dillon Atkinson, joining me live on the Bat Around as we have an overreaction Saturday here for you after the news of the Corbin Burnes signing. Corbin Burnes signing with the Arizona Diamondbacks is brought to you by Royal Farms, world famous chicken, which is always fresh, never frozen. And right now you can get either a 10-piece dark or an 8-piece mix for just $15, or get a 4-piece mix with Western fries and a biscuit for just $10. And in the morning, you can enjoy any size hot or iced coffee and a breakfast sandwich for just $5. Plus, have you tried their new baby cake hash browns? I had them this morning for breakfast, and they were amazing. Stop in your neighborhood Royal Farms today to get your chicken and baby cake hash browns. The first time I read that read, when nobody could hear me, I said they were scrumdiddlyumptious in ode to Ned Flanders. I'm glad nobody heard that. I think that was the Lord's way of saying me, Paul, try this again. Let's do this over.
It was fate. It was fate.
It was absolutely fate. So, Dillon, let me ask you something. So I added this microphone last week because the week before somebody told me they could barely hear me. Am I coming in loud and clear today?
You are. You sound
coming
great.
in loud and clear. Let's see if I can adjust this cam. Oh, there we go. Now I'm taking up more of the screen.
There you go.
Here we go. All right. Dillon, I and the rest of the Baltimore Orioles fan base, except for those who have toxic positivity, you know who you are. You're probably not tuning into this show right now. You're going to need to talk some of us off the ledge here because, as we alluded to, Corbin Burnes is an Arizona Diamondback. They weren't even mentioned as a possibility for Corbin Burnes' services. It was the Blue Jays. It was the San Francisco Giants. It was the Dodgers. It was maybe the Orioles. It was the Red Sox. Were the Yankees going to go after Corbin Burnes? How about the Mets? The Diamondbacks, not even a little bit on the radar. They signed Corbin Burnes late last night on the East Coast anyway, for 6 years, $210 million. It was rumored he was looking to match or exceed the Steven Strasburg 7-year, $245 million contract from after their World Series win back in 2019. He got the same average annual value, but 1 year less. Got less overall money than Max Fried, but again, the higher average annual value of $35 million. And look, Dillon, we all knew that Corbin Burnes was likely not coming back. Mm-hmm. We knew from the time he got traded here that he was likely a one and done. We all had that pipe dream. We all had that hope, well, if the Orioles are really good and they go and they win a World Series or they make a deep run into the playoffs, maybe he'll want to stay here. Dude didn't want to stay here. Dude didn't want to be on the East Coast. He got a higher offer from both the Giants and from the Blue Jays, but ultimately he went to the Diamondbacks because he lives in Arizona. He had twin girls over the All-Star break. He wants to be with his family, and I think that family speaks a lot louder than the money, and the money's great. The money's great for him, but at the end of the day, being comfortable where you are, I totally understand it, Dillon, from that perspective. What I don't understand is, you said you want to go to a place where you have the opportunity to win. Yeah, Arizona's a good baseball team, but they have the best baseball team who has unlimited funding, the deepest pockets in the league, except for maybe the Mets, but they spend more money than anybody anyway. They have the Dodgers in their own division staring down at them. Does from a professional standpoint, does signing with the Diamondbacks make sense? And then Baltimore's reaction on the whole about this news.
So, of course, it surprised everybody that he signed with the Diamondbacks because, like you said, they were never mentioned at any point in this process. He wasn't even thrown out as not a rumor target, but even as he's a fit here. No, that was never mentioned by anybody at all. And from a general baseball fan standpoint, I love signings like this. When you have the drawn out big name free agent, he could go here, he could go here, he could go here. And then boom, out of nowhere, he signs with someone that wasn't rumored the entire time. I love to see that. In this particular case, it was a little maddening. And like you said, it's something we all saw coming, right? Him not coming back to Baltimore. It doesn't make it any easier, now that it's actually happened now, but to go to Arizona from a professional standpoint, they're probably the second best team in that division, and it's going to stay that way, if not go down to third. They're not going to be the best team in the division, but there could be some level of a competitive aspect of, the Dodgers are the best team. Well, I want to go beat the best team.
Mm-hmm. I get that too. That's an excellent point.
Point. And who knows how much the Dodgers were really in on Burnes? It's tough to say, because it seemed like in the later stages it was more so the Giants and the Blue Jays getting talked up a lot. And I was sold that Burnes was going to be a San Francisco Giant.
Oh, I was sold since October 3rd that he was going to be a San Francisco Giant. I was shocked that he's not. Yep.
But it's as far as the immediate reaction by Orioles fans, I don't know if it's necessarily all tied to Corbin Burnes himself. It's more so of we get hyped up all going into this offseason. Elias says he has the backing of the ownership for financial flexibility to do whatever they damn well please. If it was made apparent to you, which it was made apparent to everybody pretty publicly, that Corbin Burnes was going to be on the West Coast, if he had that offer on the table, okay, well, why didn't we see more of a push for a Max Fried? Or even if you don't even want to go to a long-term contract with someone, which that's what it seems like right now. I don't have any inside sources or anything like that. It just seems like the Orioles don't want to be in a long-term situation with free agents. If that's the case, why isn't Nathan Eovaldi a Baltimore Oriole? That you could get on a 2 or 3 year deal. So it's not. Corbin Burnes is just the most frustrating part of it because he's the latest deal to happen, and he's the one that was already in a Baltimore Orioles uniform, and he was the top pitcher on the market. But it's maddening to see him go ahead and sign elsewhere when most of the other options are gone. Max Fried is off the table. Sean Manaea is off the table. All these other pitchers that they've already signed.
Yeah.
So it really seems like now your only pivot option right now is a trade. Right back to last offseason.
Yeah. Hey, before we continue, can you hear me through this microphone? There's stuff in the comments saying that there's no sound. Zach Moore said, I don't think it's coming through that mic, to be honest, Paul. If you're in the comments right now, if you're watching the show, can you hear me loud and clear through this microphone, or is that just coming through? Does it sound like it's just coming through my laptop? Because if so, I probably don't have this thing hooked up. It's been years since I've used this microphone. I'll wait for anybody to respond on that. But in the meantime, it doesn't seem like the Orioles are going to be in on any free agent pitches, and now there's none left. There's none left when you really look at it, and they've got to pivot. You look at the Diamondbacks, to your point about how they're going to be the second best team in that division, and Corbin Burnes probably. Okay, thank you, Zach. He says it sounds better. They're probably going to. Corbin Burnes probably wants to face the best in that division probably 5-6 times this over the next each season over the next 6 years. Also, keep in mind there's an opt out for Burnes after year 2. for this. So maybe he'll come back to Baltimore for year 3. Yeah, right. But that Arizona Diamondbacks team they have a solid roster. They just traded for Josh Naylor. They lost Christian Walker, but they traded for Josh Naylor. They've got Ketel Marte, Corbin Carroll. Their rotation has Zach Gallen, Brandon Pfaadt, Eduardo Rodriguez. Now, obviously, Corbin Burnes, Merrill Kelly. They've got Jordan Montgomery, who is now probably a trade piece for them. Who, maybe the Orioles go and make that move. I don't believe that Jordan Montgomery was a pitcher that we saw last year. I think he's closer to the guy that we saw in Texas 2 years ago, and in St. Louis and in New York. But that Diamondbacks team, they're a solid squad. It's just that the Dodgers are so damn good. When you have a lineup that has Mookie Betts, they just re-signed Teoscar Hernandez, Freddie Freeman, Shohei Ohtani, who I can't believe is the one who I mentioned fourth on that list. It's going to be tough. It's going to be really tough to compete with that. But you know what? If Corbin Burnes is close to home, he knows he's on a good team that just went to World Series 2 years ago, and he has the opportunity to face the best all year long, I can understand why he would want to go there. The problem here is that, after 2022, it was lift off from here. In 2023, they win 101 games, and then they go out and they trade for Corbin Burnes, and new ownership takes over. And we're feeling sky high, and we're looking at this team in mid-June, and they're the best team in baseball. They were the best team in baseball in mid-June by a good bit. And then, like clockwork, it was John Means goes down. Kyle Bradish goes down. Dean Kramer hits the IL. Danny Coulombe goes down. Jacob Webb goes down. Grayson Rodriguez goes down. Jordan Westberg goes down. And it's just like, what the F is happening right now?
And Adley forgot how to hit. And they end up in a situation where they still win 91 games. They've averaged 91 wins per year since 2022, which is awesome. But you can't convince me that this team is better right now than they were on October 3rd after they scored 1 run in 2 games to be swept in the wild card series. And then we look at this and we say they keep missing out on pitching this offseason. And you look at this. Corbin Burnes, 6 years, $210 million. You couldn't even retain your own ace with the Diamondbacks. Blake Snell, 5 years, $182 million with the Dodgers. Max Fried, 7-2-18 with the Yankees. Evaldi, who was gettable, 3 years, $75 million with Texas. Manaea, who was gettable, 3 years, $75 million with the Mets. So both those guys went back to the teams that they were already on. So that's probably a comfortability thing, and they got the money that they were looking for. But then Walker Buehler, why can't you sign Walker Buehler? 1 year, $21.05 million, basically the qualifying offer. You couldn't make that offer? You could not. If he's going to pitch on the East Coast, wouldn't you rather pitch for Baltimore, who's got a better young core and who plays in a better, I don't want to say better ballpark, it's a better ballpark, and who has more of an opportunity to win with this young core? Then you see Yusei Kikuchi, 3 years, $63 million to the Angels, gettable. Luis Severino, 3 years, $67 million with the A's. Luzardo traded to the Phillies. Crochet traded to the Red Sox. Jeffrey Springs traded to the A's. Dillon, you have to talk me off the ledge here. Why is Mike Elias just watching these attainable pitchers fall off the board and doing nothing? And look, I don't think that a general manager should be operating under the idea that the fan base dictates what you do. Mm-hmm. But all the things that have been said over the last few off seasons with the liftoff from here, and we're going to add to this payroll, and then David Rubenstein comes out and he says, I didn't buy this team at my age to not win a World Series. He's got the money to do what he needs to do. And Mike Elias alluding to that. You've got to do something. And to the people that say, Dillon, to the people that say to us, well, they didn't trade for Corbin Burnes till February 1st last year, and we were all feeling the same way last year. No, the hell we weren't. That is revisionist history, because last year's market was Blake Snell and Jordan Montgomery. Mm-hmm. That was it. And we weren't thinking, because at the time, John Angelos was our owner, so we knew it. Sorry, I just really hit the desk. We knew that those guys weren't signing here. We knew it beyond the shadow of a doubt. But we had Kyle Bradish coming off a 4th place finish in the Cy Young, and really he should have been top 3. He was better than Kevin Gausman. You had Grayson Rodriguez, who after he returned from the minor leagues had a sub-3 ERA in 13 starts.
You have Tyler Wells, who had the best ERA in the American League for a starting pitcher the first half of the season. You've got John Means, who put up 4 stupendous starts in September. Now, look, whatever you got from Means was a bonus, but you're expecting him to come in. You're not expecting it, but you're thinking, well, he can come in, and if he's fully recovered from Tommy John surgery, we got a taste of September. Maybe he can do that for 2025 starts, because he's not giving you a full season, because he never has. But then you have Dean Kramer, who from May 1st on had like a 3.53 ERA. So yeah, we're feeling damn good about the Orioles rotation. They're young and they're good, and then they add Corbin Burnes, and you're like, oh my God, they're the best team in baseball. And then the first day of spring training, we hear Kyle Bradish had a PRP injection because he has a sprained UCL. We hear that John Means is a month behind the rest of the pitchers because of the shoulder injury that shut him down for October last year. And now it's like, oh, Corbin Burnes wasn't the addition. Corbin Burnes was a supplement for Kyle Bradish. So now it wasn't the same last year. Again, false narrative, revisionist history. It was not the same. This year, there is a multitude of free agent pitchers that you can go out and get, and that you can put your money where your mouth is, literally, and say, we said we're going to do this, watch what we do. And you haven't done it. And I don't want to hear, it's only December. No, F that. F that. You have watched the Yankees and the Red Sox in your own division get better, and you are sitting on your hands. You are selling to your fan base that Tyler O'Neill, who's been on the IL 14 times in a 7-year career and has only played more than 100 games twice. You're selling them on him. You lost your best power hitter from last season. You lost your ace starting pitcher. You replaced your ace starting pitcher with a 35-year-old rookie from Japan who has never thrown a big league inning. And you replace your 44 home run right fielder with a guy who has all the power in the world, but is more than likely a platoon player at best right now and can't stay on the field. So, Dillon, please talk me off the ledge. Talk me off the ledge.
All right. Get off the ledge. That's all I got. All right. Thanks. No, just kidding. So I have been I've tried to be patient this offseason as dominoes fall, and my patience has been running thin. There are still guys out there on the trade market who would, I don't want to say immediately be a 1-for-1 swap with Corbin Burnes, necessarily that ace, because I think we've talked before about our definition of ace is probably higher than what other people's definition of an ace
Sure.
is. But
I expect 97 Mike Mussina.
8 innings, of course. But there are still a handful of guys out there who would immediately slot into the opening day spot. You do still have the Bryce Miller out there with Seattle. You'd have to pay up big time for him. He's got 4 years of control. He's 26 years old. You'd have to pay up big time for him. I mean, maybe worth it. I think he's even best friends with Jordan Westberg. So perfect.
Is he really?
I think it was Bryce Miller who played ball with Westberg in high school.
I did not know that, and I learned something.
Because there was a matchup 2 years ago. Yeah, not this season, but the season before, where Westberg was facing Bryce Miller, and that's all they were talking about on the broadcast. And Westberg was just like smiling the entire at bat, and then he popped up to second base, and Bryce Miller started laughing at him.
Well, that's pretty cool. Well, there you go. Well, yeah, Seattle's not going to give him up for nothing, but maybe he's like, hey, make this happen. But continue.
Now, the piece that Seattle might be more willing to trade, which is one that's been rumored all over the place, is Luis Castillo. He's got the 3 years left on his contract for about $72 million. It's about $24 million a year, in that range. So you wouldn't have to trade as much to get him, but you still got to trade something of significance because he's immediately slotting into the top of your rotation. Sonny Gray is still out there, got 2 years left at $65 million. Maybe not the pitcher that he was, but again, with the current state of the Orioles rotation, he would slot in the top spot.
He's 103 years old. 103.
And Dillon.
Fair enough.
There's been rumors out there of San Diego listening to offers for Dylan Cease. He's got 1 year left. There's been rumors of Houston listening on Framber Valdez which I was all in on trading for Framber Valdez from the start, especially when Houston was still looking for a first baseman, because I felt like that lined up magically for the Orioles to do a similar trade to what they did last year. You trade a position player in Ryan Mountcastle, and maybe you toss one of your young, promising starters, a Cade Povich or something like that, and you get yourself 1 year from Valdez, and it looks like an exact repeat of what you did last year with Burnes. And then one last option, which was really just brought to my attention this morning with a good buddy of mine who is an avid D-backs fan. He is totally sold right now that the Diamondbacks will be trading Zach Gallen before spring training now.
I can't imagine that they would. I can't imagine. You don't want to put the piece together Zach Gallen and Corbin Burnes at the top of your rotation.
That's what I thought as well. And he's fully sold just on how the Diamondbacks operate, that Zach Gallen has 1 year left before free agency, and that this signing of Burnes is basically to cement in your ace, because maybe they weren't sure that they'd be able to bring back Gallen, and now they're going to try to bolster their lineup by trading Gallen.
Well, but it would make more sense, in my opinion, for them to keep Gallen, make a serious run this year, give him a qualifying offer in the offseason, get that competitive balance pick, or whatever that pick is going to be. It wouldn't be the competitive balance pick, but it would be the second highest pick for any team that signs him, because you don't get their first round pick. It's the next highest pick. That's what I think that they would do. I cannot imagine that they're trading Zach Gallen. And
I agree with you.
I don't. Dylan Cease, Zach Gallen, like, great pitchers. I mean, you look at Dylan Cease, he's thrown 165 innings or more each of the last 4 seasons. He posts up every 5th day, has not missed a start ever in his career. And he's got over the last 4 years, a 16 WAR, 48 wins, and a 3.52 ERA, not to mention 891 strikeouts and 716 innings pitched.
That'll play.
The dude's nasty.
Yes.
But I'm telling you right now, I'm not here for trading more prospects for another freaking rental where we're having this exact same conversation on December 28th, 2025. I'm not here for that.
We're just going to do it every single year, Paul.
Every year. Just, get rid of that entire farm system. And look, if they're not going to play at the big league level, if you don't have a spot for them, trade them. But trade them for controllable pieces. As good as Dylan Cease is, as much as I would love to see him in the Orioles rotation in 2025, I also want to see him in the rotation in 26, 27, 28, 29. And you're not competitive in this market. Bob Nightingale said the Orioles were aggressive with Burnes to the end. Bullshit. If they were, and part of my language, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that or not. I don't really give a damn. Legitimately, if they were that aggressive, why were they not mentioned as finalists at any point? I think 3 weeks ago they said that the Orioles were still in it, but the Blue Jays and the Giants were listed as the final suitors, and then Diamondbacks come out of left field for that. I don't want to hear if you're not going to show us what that offer was. I joked on Twitter, what was the offer? 3 years, $81 million, opt out after years 1 and 2, a bag of hats and a free beer on opening day for the length of the contract. Is that what the offer was? Be effing for real right now. I don't want to hear.
The term aggressive was just pointing to the fact that they were aggressively texting him every day.
Hey, buddy. You better come back. You better come back. Come back. Grayson loves you. You better get here. Well, I'm not going to play for $15 and a hot dog, man. I'm sorry. I'm just not going to do it.
I did a terrible job talking off the ledge. I'm pretty bad at this.
Yeah, you were up against it because it's not able to be done. But I think I'm going to talk myself off the ledge here. First and foremost, if you or a loved one has a gambling problem, like if you bet on Corbin Burnes coming back to the Orioles, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit helpmygamblingproblem.org for free confidential services. That's 1-800-GAMBLER or helpmygamblingproblem.org for free confidential services. Let's let's get to some of the comments about this. Zach Moore says, Dillon looks so angry. Smile, buddy. Dillon he's always laughing. I think he was just he's like, I can't hear Paul. What did I get myself into today? This is bogus. I'm so upset. But he feels better now. He looks good. You look good. You look like a big comfy teddy bear.
There we go.
Rob Wick says, do you think Mike Elias is now on the hot seat along with Brandon Hyde? No. Not right now. He has the rest of this offseason. If Tyler O'Neill, Gary Sanchez, and Sagano are the only signings that he makes and bringing back Matt Bowman, yeah, he should be on the hot seat because the Orioles aren't doing anything in 2025 with that. He's got the rest of the offseason. He's going to make a trade for a pitcher. He's going to do it. I say that with 100% confidence. I have no idea who that pitcher could be. I'm going to talk about one here in just a couple of moments. But he's going to do something. I don't think that he's on the I think Brandon Hyde's on the hot seat, but they don't want to acknowledge that he's on the hot seat. I think internally they've told him, dude, you're on the hot seat. But I don't think that outwardly that's been that they're going to be saying that to anybody. And Mike Elias, I think that when you have an owner like David Rubenstein, look, the guy spent a lot of money on stuff that's just trivial. He bought the friggin' Magna Carta for $27 million. So he's like that dude's not going that the Magna Carta's not going out there and pitching every fifth day for you. And you spent $27 million on that. So, let's get something done. I think he wants to spend money. I think he will spend money. I think it's his first off season as a big league owner. And so he was giving credence to Mike Elias. You can't see my arm reaching out for, effect, but it's reaching out to my right.
I'll reach it for you.
Yeah, there we go. Thank you.
I'll connect it for you.
I think that he's deferring to Mike Elias this offseason. And if he doesn't get them to the point where they're competing for a World Series this year, or at least getting to the league championship series, then they're going to take a hard look at him. But I don't know that he's on the hot seat on December 28th. And again, I just said, I don't give a crap if it's still only December. And then it's a contradictory statement, but he's still got a month and a half until spring training starts. And so I don't think that's a thing until it becomes a thing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it really comes down to what the roster is looking like when you break camp for opening day. Because we've seen crazy things happen in spring training at times. So we'll all be sitting here shouting at our computer screens, at our phones, and everything that no other move was made as they enter Sarasota. Then all of a sudden they're going to make a trade right before opening day, and that'll be maddening.
The whole off season has been maddening. Like, I think about the fact that when they were at the winter meetings and Mike Elias is on MLB Network, and they asked him, "Why'd you move the wall back in?" And he said he was giddy. He was giddy when he said it. I wanted to sign Tyler O'Neill and Gary Sanchez. That's why we moved the wall back in. And it's like he said that, and I was like, dude, shut the F up. Like, you're acting like you just signed Judge or something. like shut the F up. Like, you replace Santander with Tyler O'Neill. And look, I think that Tyler O'Neill is a better player. I think he's a better player. I believe that what he does against left-handed pitching is absolutely bananas. Okay. But did you pay $17 million a year for a platoon player? No. Is he going to stay on the field? How much are you going to play him in the outfield to try and keep him healthy? Are you going to DH him 65% of the time? Because you've got to keep him healthy. And the dude is just muscles on top of muscles.
Oh, yeah.
And I know that their strength and conditioning coach is going to say to him, hey, look, you get hurt a lot because you work out like an animal. Let's stop doing that. Is he gonna be willing to change his workout routine so that he can stay healthy? Anthony Santander did it. Anthony Santander took the steps to stop getting hurt every September so that he could play 150 games every year, and he's done it 3 years in a row. Is Tyler O'Neill gonna do the same thing?
We'll just have to wait and see. I mean, don't get me wrong. Going into this offseason, I was circling Tyler O'Neill as a potential target for the Orioles.
I was too.
And I didn't feel it was that big of a possibility because of Camden Yard's dimensions. And then all of a sudden they move the wall in, and Tyler O'Neill's like, oh, yeah, I'm going to sign a 3-year deal there now. Okay, cool.
It's essentially a 1-year deal.
Yeah.
Right.
And For 17 mil, he's going to be more than a platoon player, but I still don't think he's going to be like every day. He's not going to be out there for 160 games in my mind, even if he does stay healthy the entire season. I feel like he's obviously going to be in there every day against lefties. And then against righties, he's probably going to be in some kind of timeshare with, first base, outfield. Well, he's not going to be at first base, but you know how they finagle DH and everything with whether Mountcastle's going to be in the lineup, O'Neill's going to be in the lineup, Kerstad's going to be in the lineup. Between O'Neill, Mountcastle, and Kerstad against righties, one of them is going to have to sit with the way the roster is currently shaped up. So I think you're going to see some kind of timeshare split there where against righties, they're going to take their turns on who's sitting.
We're going to take a pretty deep dive into the Orioles offense today. Okay. We're gonna do that, so we'll get to that here in just a moment. Daniel Pitts says the only way we were going to keep Burnes was to significantly overpay, which is why I suggested the 4-year, $200 million deal last week. I honestly think he would have taken that. Did you put a call in? Like, did you call Boris and say, "Hey, man, 4 years, $200 million. I think I can get Elias to do this." I'm just joking, but like, that's. Maybe I think that he wanted the security. Now, look, he has the opt-out after year 2. You're giving him $50 million a year. He's probably not opting out after year 2, right? I think that he wanted to see if he could get a 6 to 8 year deal. And if there were no suitors for that, then he starts exploring an option like that. But like the Diamondbacks were willing to give him the years that he wanted, the money that he wanted, and the opt-out that he wanted. And so that's what he got. Zach Moore says, Burnes went home. Evaldi stayed where he was comfy. Fried took the years, which was incredible. And Crochet is a big question mark long term. That's alluding to the stuff that we were talking about with all these pitchers that are off the board. And he's absolutely right. Burnes did go home. Like all these guys, Burnes, Evaldi, Manaea, they went where they're comfortable. Fried, Snell, they got the money to play for legitimate contenders. I mean, they each signed with the World Series team participants last year. Walker Buehler, him going to Boston, I don't know how the Orioles aren't in on that. I don't know. I understand not trading for Crochet. His arm could be Swiss cheese, and it was going to cost you way too much. Luzardo, the back issues, maybe you don't like the medicals, and Zach and I have talked on this show about how Miami is terrible about getting their pitchers healthy and rehabbing their pitchers and developing their pitchers. You say Kikuchi.
Surprise. Trevor Rogers was fatigued when he came over.
I know, right? They're going to try to sell us. You know what's going to put a lot of egg on everybody's faces when Trevor Rogers comes out, makes the team out of spring training, and then goes like 13-9 with like a 3.64 ERA. Like everybody's just going to be sitting here like, what the? Now I feel terrible. That trade was worth it.
I would love to sit here and I'll come on this show and I'll spend the entire time just going, I was wrong, and be more than happy to do it.
Yeah. Daniel Pitts, he says, the problem is all of us Orioles fans feel like we are being lied to by the team. And I posted that earlier today too. I'm tired of being lied to. I'm tired of hearing liftoff. I'm tired of hearing we're going to spend money. I'm tired of hearing we're going to be aggressive in our efforts. Like, then sign somebody. Sign somebody other than Tyler O'Neill and Gary Sanchez. And look, Gary Sanchez, his defensive metrics were better than James McCann's last year. Better offensive profile, at least from a power standpoint. The problem with Gary Sanchez is he's going to DH like 50 times. He's going to DH. That he's good. Adley's going to play catcher and he's going to DH. Or Adley's going to DH and Gary's going to catch. That he's going to play 100 games.
Oh, yeah.
I don't need a dude who hasn't hit his own weight in 7 years to get that much playing time. But this is the team that we root for. Steve Hefner, a trade with Seattle or for Cease or Sasaki. That's the last 3 options unless a surprise happens late in winter. I mean, there's other options. And one of the options is Pablo Lopez. It's rumored that the Orioles have checked in on Pablo Lopez. He went 15-10 last year with a 4.08 ERA in 32 games started, covering 185 in the third innings pitched, which would have been second on the Orioles. 32 games started, 10-plus wins, 180-plus innings pitched each of the last 3 seasons. From 2020 through 2023's ERA was 361, 307, 375, and 366. When I first saw this, my initial reaction was, I'm good. I don't need another number 3 in this rotation. But if you trade for Pablo Lopez, that's, to me, the exact same thing as adding a Zach Eflin. And if you can add a Pablo Lopez to your rotation, and now you've got Eflin, Grayson, Pablo, Kramer, Sagano, with Povich and Suarez who can make spot starts for you, and Bradish coming back late in the season, I'm okay with that rotation, provided that you sign some legit relievers. Matt Bowman coming back. Some people that are pretty popular have been like, I like the Matt Bowman move. Why? Why? Minor league depth is good. That's fine. But I would like a Jeff Hoffman or a Tanner Scott or both signing. Let's go do that. Let's go do that. And then your rotation looks a lot better because they only have to give you 5-6 innings every night. You don't need guys going 7 or 8 innings. You don't really even need guys going 6. You can go 5 1/3, 5 innings. Get 5 innings of 2-run ball and hand things over to a bullpen that's just going to shut the door, and we're good. But you got to go get those relievers in. If you're not putting all your eggs in the starting pitching basket, and right now they haven't, go get some legit relief pitchers. Your thoughts on Pablo Lopez, what that would look like, and keep in mind he's entering the second year of a 4-year, $73.5 million deal. So he's got 3 years left at $18.375 million a year. That is extremely doable, especially if you're the Orioles.
Oh, absolutely. And I would actually love Pablo Lopez coming in and being on this Orioles staff. He's pitched at least 180 innings each of the last 3 years. Yeah, he had a 4.08 ERA this past season, but his FIP was a lot lower at 3.65, which indicates he had some bad luck on batted balls. You know, so come over. Your infield defense probably going to be a little bit better in Baltimore than what it would be than what he's had in Minnesota. So I think a lot of those ground balls are going to get fielded. He gets about 45% ground balls. That would play well here. And I think he would step in, and he's not an ace, but he would probably be right in the front of the Orioles rotation as it stands right now. You know, at least until a Kyle Bradish gets back, if Kyle Bradish returns to form, or until you potentially make a move at the deadline. You know,
we know what that looks like.
Zach Eflin.
Well, yeah, that was
more and more Zach Eflin.
That was good, but then Trevor Rogers, Eloy Jimenez, the list goes on.
Didn't we just say that Trevor Rogers was going to be an ace this year?
Yeah, Austin Slater. I forgot about Austin Slater.
Oh man, Austin Slater was a nice guy. He doesn't deserve that.
He 100% deserves that. He didn't run out ground balls like he was an everyday player. Get the hell out of here. Run. Effing run.
Nope.
Anyway.
And I would love to add to the bullpen as we were talking about. And it just comes down to it again. Do we really think the Orioles are going to shell out a 3 to 4 year deal for a Tanner Scott or a Jeff Hoffman? I just don't see it. I just don't see it. Now, a move that I could see potentially is Orioles lining up a kind of change of scenery trade with perhaps the Pittsburgh Pirates for a David Bednar, who just had an atrocious season with the Pirates, whereas the year before that, he was probably the best closer in the National League. So there could be a potential lineup there for a change of scenery. He's probably making a decent amount of money in arbitration right now with the Pirates. There could be a lineup there. So I just don't see the Orioles forking out $10+ million for 3 or 4 years to relievers. I just don't see it happening. And they've shown time and time again that they're able to find these relievers on waivers, on minor league deals that just have the right profile that they like, and then they get them into their pitching lab and work with them on something, and then boom, something clicks. It's just, well, you better sign 10 of them and hope one pans out.
Yeah. You know? I mean, that's literally what it comes down to. It's like you're looking for a diamond in the rough. How many times are you going to find that?
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to hope and pray for some hidden treasure. I want somebody who I know is going to get the job done.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I want for this team, and that's what fans deserve. Quite frankly, they deserve to see their team after 41 years without being in a World Series. We deserve to see the Baltimore Orioles make a legitimate run. And really, the only 2 years, there's only been 3 seasons where that seemed possible. And that was 1997, 2014, and the regular season of 2023. When they got to the playoffs, it was done. But like, this fan base, this city, this town deserves to see them make a serious, legitimate effort to get to a World Series. And right now, we can't say that that's happening. Yeah. We cannot say that that's happening. Today's show brought to you by the Governor's Challenge. The top high school basketball talent from across the country returns to the Wacomico Civic Center December 26th through the 30th. You can witness 5 full days of elite competition, which is going on right now, and it's featuring over 140 high school basketball teams. For tickets and info, go visit govchallenge.org. That's govchallenge.org. All right. The focus has been on starting pitching this entire offseason. I've been screaming from a mountaintop into deaf ears that the Orioles need to add a middle-of-the-order bat. They kind of done it with Tyler O'Neill. If Tyler O'Neill can be healthy and find his 2021 form, then that's a legitimate threat in the middle of your order. Mm-hmm. I truly believe, Dillon, that Mike Elias thinks the offense is fixed right now after they've signed O'Neill and Sanchez. I think that mentality is very foolhardy. But since I believe beyond the shadow of a doubt that he thinks he's more than adequately addressed the lineup, let's take a look at some of the guys who could have a big hand in turning this offseason around. Okay? Mm-hmm. And I'm going to start first with Jackson Holliday because there's a lot of fans out there who don't think he's going to be anything after what they saw from a 20-year-old in his first cup of coffee at the big league level. 21 years old, Dillon, he's got to prove that he's an everyday player or he's going to be stuck in a platoon with Jorge Mateo. Mm-hmm. He's going to play against righties and Mateo's going to play against lefties. Your number 1 overall pick, who's 21 years old, does not need to be a platoon player. He needs to be an everyday player. Got rid of the big exaggerated leg kick. Looked like he had a little bit of success in the couple games that he played after getting rid of that exaggerated leg kick. Jackson Holliday. What should we realistically expect from him in 2025? Because I think that he's a potential leadoff hitter for this team if he's the player that he can be.
I think he could be a leadoff hitter for this team. And while I've loved the idea, going back to what you were saying earlier about adding a middle-of-the-order bat, I've always loved that idea too, but I was more so in the mindset of need to add a legitimate on-base threat at the top of the order. Let Gunnar eat in that 2 or 3 spot, know, where that solves both your problems, But I do agree with you that there's a chance here that he won't do it on opening day. He'll be down at the bottom of the order, until he proves he can handle it.
Unless you're facing a lefty, and then he'll be glued to the bench.
Well, I at least want to see him be given the opportunity to play every day. If he goes through a month and a half, 2 months, where you literally just can't trust him against lefties, then okay, the game's more important. Go ahead, do what you got to do, But I at least want to see him be given that opportunity out of the gate. You're going to be our everyday second baseman, batting 8th or 9th, and that's how we're going to start out this season and see where we go from there. Right. And I do think that there is opportunity for him to move up in the order, maybe in that leadoff spot, put Gunnar down into more of a run-producing position like second or third, where he can eat there. I don't want to pump up the expectations too much on Jackson Holliday. Mm-hmm. I do think he's going to have a solid season in his first full season in the big leagues. I think we can expect perhaps a 250 average, 260 average maybe.
Mm-hmm. That's what I'm thinking.
With an on-base maybe around 330, 340 in that range.
Sure.
And if he's playing every day, probably 15 to 20 homers leaving the ballpark. I think I would absolutely take that in first full season, and I'd even take a little bit less. I don't want to pump it up too much. as long as he's showing himself as a consistent threat in the lineup one way or another, having good at bats, that's all I'm really looking forward to. Because as long as he's having good at bats and posing himself as a threat, the season's going to get better for him as it goes along. And one thing I also love to see, I love that you touched on the mechanical adjustments he made in those last few games. We'll see if that sticks heading into the season. I love watching the mechanical adjustments guys make from when they first came up to the big leagues to what they look 2-3 years from now. Go back and rewatch Manny Machado rookie year at bats and look at how he takes them now. All the mechanics are completely changed. And I love seeing those changes happen. I'm curious to see what Holiday has in store for us this upcoming season.
I'm a firm believer that Holiday eventually is going to be a 320, 25 to 30 homer guy at the big league level. I think he is just so incredibly talented, and I think he literally just turned 21 this month.
Yeah.
I don't know how you can write somebody off who was a number 1 overall pick who's that young. So he's not going to hit 320 in 2024. I mean, in 2025, but 2026, 2027, I think he's a perennial all-star and potential MVP candidate. I just think that he's going to be a stud, but he's got to get an opportunity to play every day. You can't just platoon everybody. That's one of my biggest gripes with Brandon Hyde is the matching up and the over matching up. Like I joked with my friend today, all Brandon Hyde knows is lefty hit righty. That's like I want to see guys play every single day. Otherwise, why are you wasting top picks? Go draft a pitcher if that's what we're doing here. Adley Rutschman, how much of his defensive struggles contributed to an abysmal second half at the bat? Was he hurt? And can we buy in again if he's scalding hot into June like he was last year? He may be the most important bat on this team in 2025.
Yeah, and I think I said it later in the season where it's like, even when he was scalding hot at the beginning of the season and everything, was he the best hitter on the team? No, Gunnar Henderson was. But it just always felt like when Adley goes, the Orioles go. And it just so happened that when Adley started struggling at the dish, the Orioles went with him. And
when he started struggling, it's not even that he didn't hit. He didn't get on base. He wasn't walking either. And that's what he's done at every level his entire life is get on base. And he just stopped walking.
Yeah. And it seemed like early in the season, which he wasn't walking early in the season either, but he was showing more pop. He was showing more power production. He was still taking good at bats, swinging at strikes and everything. But if you remember, like sometimes in, first, second year, you could almost tell in an Adley at bat when he was looking to just draw a walk. We're just fouling off pitches inside the zone. If anything was close but off the plate, he knew it was a ball and he's taking ball 4, and he would just do that. This year he swung at more borderline pitches, but he also took his chances earlier in counts where he always worked at bats in earlier years. But earlier on in the season, it was working for him. While we love to see the Adley on base jump and everything, he was showing pop. And at one point in the season, I think it was in late May, I can't remember for sure, he was on a 30 home run pace. And then
he had 15 home runs in June.
Yeah.
And fell off a cliff.
Yep. And just everything went downhill. I could see potential injury there. It's been talked about. Oh, he's got nagging this and everything. He had the foul ball off of him and everything. I'm like, okay, but he's still not taking great at bats.
Yeah.
And all that comes back to mental, and I think this offseason is going to be good for him. If there's one thing we've noticed with Adley Rutschman, if he struggles at something on a given season, he makes that correction in the offseason. But then he's going to struggle at something else the following season.
Yep.
When he first came up in the big leagues, he couldn't hit for crap from the right-handed side of the plate. The following season, he's hitting better from the right side of the plate.
And now he can't throw.
Now he can't throw. He did get better in the last 3 weeks of the season. Last 3 weeks of the season, he was nailing down runners, which surprised me. I'm like, did you figure out something mechanically? What happened here? And I'm hoping that's the case, because if you figured out something mechanically, maybe that's a sign of good things to come. But for a lot of the season, it was rough watching him trying to throw out runners. And guys like Corbin Burnes didn't necessarily do him any favors with time to home plate being.
And Corbin Burnes, and part of the reason I think that Adley got better throwing out runners the last few weeks of the season is Corbin Burnes got better holding runners on. He developed that slide step and got better at keeping runners at bay instead of just letting everybody run free and clear. The thing with Adley, 2-0, bases loaded, 2 outs in game 2 against Kansas City, takes a fastball right down the middle. A lot of people were like, how do you take that pitch? I was so happy he took it because I knew that if he swung at it, he was hitting a weak fly ball to center field. Like he was hitting a weak fly ball to left center. And I was glad he took it. I was like, maybe he walks and that ties the game, you know? And then he ended up hitting that scorcher into the hole at short and made a nice play and threw him out. Yeah. But like, I didn't want him swinging at that 2-0 pitch. And I remember his rookie year, Adley took a 2-0 fastball right down the middle and an opportunity to in a big spot against the Rays, took it right down the middle, and then he ended up striking out in the at-bat. And then the next day, he found himself in the same situation with the bases loaded, 2-0 fastball right down the middle, and he hit a grand slam.
Yeah.
You know, and so maybe it wasn't grand slam, but maybe it was a 2-run homer. But I think the one was with the bases loaded. He took 2-0 right down the middle at 94 miles an hour. He ended up striking out. The next day, he hit I think it was a pinch hit 2-run homer to take the lead against Tampa Bay. Same situation, 2-0 and right down the middle, and he didn't miss it this time. That's the Adley I want to see. That's the Adley we need to see. I think that's the Adley we're gonna see, but they need him to be better. And then from this tier, Gunnar. Can he gain the confidence of the superstar that he is becoming? Can he rise to the occasion instead of shrinking in the moment? And it's hard to say that about a guy who was an MVP candidate the first 2/3 of the year, who was the reigning rookie of the year going into last season, who was on pace for an historic WAR season at shortstop. And then it almost seemed like he felt the pressure to carry the team. He felt the pressure to turn things around for the team on his own. That's when he started making errors. That's when he started taking bad at bats and striking out a lot in big situations. Gunnar shrunk in the moment a lot down the stretch and in the postseason. And he was, I've mentioned on the show multiple times, he was on Mookie Betts' podcast when they were out in LA playing the Dodgers. And Mookie said, and Gunnar said, you know, I still feel like I have something to prove with this team. And Mookie's like, you got to get past that. You're going to hit 40 homers. You're a superstar. You're the face of this franchise. You're one of the best players in the game. You need to know that. You need to act like it. Gunnar needs to know that, and he needs to act like it, and he needs to be hitting third for this team from day one. I know he struggled hitting third this past year. You had him batting leadoff most of the season. You slot him into the 3-hole when the team is struggling the most offensively. Of course he struggled. Day one, he needs to be hitting third. Every single spring training game, he should be hitting third. Opening day through the end of the season, unless he's hitting 220, he should be hitting third for this ball club. He is your 3 hitter. Bat that man third. Your thoughts on Gunnar?
Who you putting at leadoff? You putting Cowser at leadoff? Who you going with?
Jackson Holiday.
From day one.
Not from day one. Not from day one, but I think Jackson Holiday eventually takes over as the number one, as the leadoff hitter for this team. But Cowser, probably to start the year. Because Cowser can get on base, and you know that he's going to take a jump forward from last year. You know, but we'll get to him in a second. But I would expect Cowser to lead off, and Gunnar should be hitting third from day one.
Okay, I like it. And Gunnar, it's one of those things where when we're talking about this offseason and expectations, and it's like, what are the hopes? What are the expectations? And the one person that we're putting all the expectations on is Gunnar. And he's the one that's got to show up. He's the one that's got to carry the team because let's just face it, he is the best player on the roster.
Yep, he is.
And I know I just said we go as Adley goes, but we go as Gunnar goes too, you know, and it's possible that later in the season, Gunnar was putting that weight on his shoulders, possibly because Adley was not producing anything. And Gunnar was saying, oh, I got to do it all myself then, which kind of like what Mookie said and everything, he's got to let it go. Just go out there and play ball. When Gunnar Henderson goes out there and plays ball, oh, it's magical. Defensively, offensively, on the base paths, everything. Gunnar Henderson is a joy to watch, but he needs to, at the very least, play like he did this past season to carry this team.
What Gunnar did from mid-May 2023 to about the beginning to basically the All-Star break this past season was special.
Mm-hmm.
He was special. He was arguably the best shortstop in baseball. Bobby Witt's taken over that moniker. But Gunnar was that dude from mid-May 2023 through the All-Star break in 24. He can be that guy. He is that guy.
Mm-hmm.
Take the pressure off yourself, man. Just go out there and play baseball. Like you said, when he just plays baseball, man, the ball sounds different off his bat. It just does. It looks different. He hits baseballs so damn hard. It's like Giancarlo Stanton, Aaron Judge, and Shohei, and then there's like Gunnar for hard hit baseballs. And Westbrook hits the crap out of the ball too. Like the guy just hits the ball hard. Mm-hmm. You know, just go play baseball, man. Don't think too much. Just go play baseball. Yep. Today's show brought to you by PressBox's latest print issue. PressBox's annual best of issue is available now. On the cover, we celebrate our Mo Gabba Sports Person of the Year honoree, Lamar Jackson. And inside, a collection of the top people, performances, and moments of the year in local sports. You can find the best of issue all throughout the region, including at 60 Royal Farm stores. And you can read it all right now at PressBoxOnline.com. All right, let's get to that next tier. That next tier being, Tyler O'Neill. He's a veteran, big bat. Can he prove he can hit right-handed pitching adequately to stay in the lineup every day? And if he's healthy, can he rediscover his 2021 form where he was a 6.8 win player, better than MVP Bryce Harper? Mm-hmm. Can he rediscover that?
It's possible. I mean, I think Tyler O'Neill, while right now he's signed to the largest contract thus far in the Elias tenure, he's also probably one of the biggest question marks. Mm-hmm. Which Tyler O'Neill are you getting? Are you getting a healthy Tyler O'Neill? The only thing that we know for sure is this dude is going to absolutely mash left-handed pitching, which is a huge plus. You know, this team is very, very left-handed dependent, you know, so it's good. It's awesome to get a right-handed bat in there that can mash against lefties. When really, if you think about it, has been the Orioles' kryptonite the last 2 years in the postseason. They got shut down by Andrew Heaney. They got shut down by Jordan Montgomery, you know, and then just this year against the Royals, they're just doing, what was it, Cole Reagans on the mound for the Royals? Shut down by Cole Reagans. They needed someone who could come in there and combat that. These teams knew what they were doing against the Orioles, pitching to the big wall in left field. We're putting the lefty on the mound. What team throws Andrew Heaney in game one of a playoff series? You do, because you got that wall there, you know, and you're protected against it, which it's not there anymore. You know, it's coming in a little bit, but Tyler O'Neill is going to mash baseballs. We know, we can confidently say that we can see Tyler O'Neill hitting 30-plus home runs this season, even in a timeshare. You know?
Yeah. I mean, he played, 108 games, 130 games, 120 games this past year. But
yeah. Bless you.
Thank you. He hit 31 home runs this year, and I think he played like 120, 130 games for the Red Sox. He spent
113 games, 473 plate appearances.
Yeah. And he hit 31 home runs. Now, against lefties, he hit, 324, 16 home runs, 50 some odd RBI. Like against left-handed pitching, his OPS was above 1100. Like against lefties.
Oh yeah.
The guy absolutely mashes, but if you're giving him $17 million a year, he's got to play every day. Although the Dodgers gave Tommy Edman $17 million.
$17 million don't get you what it used to.
No, that's absolutely true.
I mean, the Orioles just gave their backup catcher $9 million?
Yeah, so. essentially. Now the next guy, and he might be my favorite player on the team. That's Jordan Westburg. Jordan Westburg was an all-star in his first full season. You saw the downturn of the offense when he got hurt getting hit in the hand against the Blue Jays in July. Is he ready to take that next step into quiet superstardom? And I say quiet superstardom because I think that guy can hit fourth on this team. I think that he's a
Mhm.
natural born producer. He's going to get on base. He's going to play solid defense, whether it's at second base or third base. He is just a gritty baseball player who hits the ball hard every time.
Yeah.
And you've seen him every year. In the minor leagues, he progressed and became more prolific the following season. I think that if he plays 150 games this year, he's going to hit 30 home runs. He's going to drive in 100. He's going to hit about 275. I absolutely love Jordan Westburg, and I don't know that people really realize what the Orioles have in him on their roster.
Yeah, and with Westburg, there's two things I want to see with Westburg this upcoming season for significant steps forward. First, and this really has nothing to do with him, more so about Hyder, the coaching staff, Elias, whatever, and how they develop the roster. I want to see Jordan Westburg be an everyday starter at one position.
Mm-hmm.
You want to make it third base? Make it third base. If something needs to happen late in the game where you're kind of strapped on some things and need to shift some stuff around, he can do that. Yeah. But the one thing where I felt like his defense was a little shaky at second base this past season, and probably because he wasn't getting all the reps there. And then Ramon Arias came back and started getting more reps. Oh, move him to second base. Then Westburg was looking a little shaky there, but he was looking awesome at third base early in the season. So I would love for him to be the everyday third baseman and don't look back.
Yeah. And the only position right now that you really don't have a platoon in is center field and probably shortstop. And Westburg should be playing third base for this team every day. And I think that and for me, loved what Arias did, especially once Westburg got hurt. But for me, that's why Arias can't be on this team next year, is because if he's on this team, he's going to play. He's going to play 3 times a week. He's going to play at third base because that's his best position. He's won a Gold Glove there. And like you said, I think that your left side should absolutely every day should be Gunnar and Jordan Westburg. And like Westburg's name came up in trade conversations at the deadline in 2023 and in the offseason, and the Orioles were not willing to move him. If you're not willing to move him, then play him every single day at third base. Jackson plays second base, or if you want to move Jackson to center field and you want to go sign Alex Bregman, that would be cool. And have him play.
I would love that.
I'd be thrilled. It's not going to happen, but Westburg absolutely needs to play third base every single day, and that's the prime reason why Ramon Arias, in my opinion, can't be on this roster. It's nothing against Ramon. It's just that Ramon will play, and he will play third base when he does play.
Yeah, and the thing is, the Orioles do have a cluster of veteran infielders who are not going to be everyday starters, who are kind of on the roster bubble right now. You have Jorge Mateo. You have Ramon Arias. You have Emmanuel Rivera, who was awesome for the Orioles in September. I didn't think he was going to be awesome. He ended up being awesome. Yeah. But obviously, for roster crunch purposes, you can't carry all those guys. So right now, they got them all locked in on arbitration, but I think they're trying to work out a trade somewhere. And it's going to be a lower level type trade. Nothing's going to wow you over it or something like that. But they have a lot of depth that they need to kind of work its way. They're not just going to straight up DFA these guys. They want to get something back for them because they do have value to somebody, especially someone who has a thin infield depth. Perhaps Ramon Arias is a throw-in as part of a trade package to go get a Luis Castillo. The Mariners are looking for right-handed infield help at first base and third base. He could be part of that package. But I know we're kind of getting off track here. Let's go back to Jordan Westburg, play every day at third base. And the next thing I want to see Jordan Westburg do for this next step forward is patience. He gets a little hacky up there sometimes. He walked less than 5% of the time this past year. And I think that is going to be his next step forward, is taking better at-bats at the plate.
I agree.
I think he's going to be that, 265, 270, 275 hitter with an on-base percentage that goes higher than 340. And I think he's going to hit 25 balls out of the ballpark at least. So, and I agree with you that this is a guy who could become a top 4 in the order type of guy. And if you are going to keep Gunnar in the leadoff spot, right now, I'd probably slide Westburg in at my 2 or 3 to start the season.
Yeah, I think that Westberg should be in the top half of your lineup. Maybe he's the one who bats second, and you move Adley to fifth. Maybe that's what you do. But the thing about Westberg, one of the things that you would see from him is if he went 0 for 4 one game with 3 strikeouts, the next day he was getting 2 hits. You know, he had a stretch where I think he went 0 for 17 at a point in the season, but you rarely saw him have an extended slump this past year. And that's why it sucked so hard when he got hurt. And then you saw that ball that he hit in the playoffs, it would have been a home run with the wall where it is now, or where it's going to be now, but wasn't last year. I mean, the Orioles win that series if that wall is where it is now. And so that's another reason to kind of be excited about what this team can do offensively, because they play more games in that ballpark than any other team. They're hurt more than any other team by that wall being where it was the last 3 seasons. And so I'm looking at it as this offense could take a step forward just because of that, because you're going to see a lot more, maybe not a lot more, but a fair share more balls go out of the ballpark or go off the wall than what was happening.
And I'm more excited. And the big talk has been, what's this going to do for Jordan Westberg? What's this going to do for Tyler O'Neill? What's this going to do for Ryan Mountcastle? I'm excited to see what this does for Gunnar Henderson and Colton Cowser, who are shooting fly balls to left field. You're going to see more opposite field home runs from left-handed hitters at Oriole Park now, which is something that's been missing. We've had the couple. Gunnar Henderson hit one over Baltimore, which is mind-blowing. I think the first person to do it was James Outman with the Dodgers.
Oh,
and he
I
just
remember
absolutely obliterated that baseball. It's like, I couldn't even be mad.
He certainly hit it out.
I couldn't even be mad. I'm like, you got that much of a piece of it, and it's like, tip your cap to you.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. We do got to kind of roll through these a little bit quicker because we're running out of time, and I got a home inspection today. But Ryan Mountcastle, power's completely disappeared. They moved the wall back in a bit, and I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that has to do with him. It feels like each of the last 2 years we've been saying this is a put up or shut up season for Ryan Mountcastle. Yet here we are again. I truly, truly believe 2025 is the final straw for the former first rounder. This is a guy who plays Gold Glove caliber defense at first base. He's been a finalist each of the last 2 years. And I think that the Orioles are saying to themselves, this guy is still in his 20s. If he plays Gold Glove defense and he can hit 260 and hit 30 home runs again, we have something here. Let's move this wall in. Let's see what he can do. And if he's still not hitting the way we thought that he would, it's time to move on. I think a lot of this wall being moved in has to do with
I could absolutely see that. I mean, has to do with Mountcastle and who could be his replacement here at any point in the 2025 season in Coby Mayo. You know, really, Ryan Mountcastle needs to start off hot out of the gate. He needs to be red hot in April.
And he did last year.
I feel like, and I haven't looked at the numbers, but I feel like he's always gotten off to hot starts to something, whether it's to start the season, off to a hot start for the first 3 weeks of the season, or if it's right out of the All-Star break, he's off to a hot start, or if he's just coming back from an injury, hot out of the gate, and then everything fizzles down. Whenever it's a start of something, Ryan Mountcastle is hot. So he's going to need that again to start the season if he wants to keep Coby Mayo from breathing down his neck.
And look, he's hit 270 each of the last 2 years. He needs to get on base at a higher clip. That OPS has to be higher than 733 and 766. And then you look at his splits in April. In the first month of the season, 246 with a 678 OPS. May, 257 with a 743 OPS. June, 283. 876, July 242, 683, and then August 290, 850. If he can do, I mean, that's a guy. And then if he can be the guy that he is in September, 269 with a 760 OPS, that's a player for your team. I don't need I would love 290, 850 or 283, 876. I would absolutely love that. But I'll take 269 with a 760 OPS. I'll take that. Got to find a way to get on base more. He started to figure out how to lay off that slider in the dirt until he started to struggle again. Really, instead of focusing on power this past season, you saw him really focus on going the other way, to the opposite field. A lot of flares that dropped in. Start driving the baseball again. They've moved that wall in. You know you can hit it out of the ballpark now. He's always been able to hit it out of the ballpark to all fields. I remember he had a home run on opening day in 2021. He had a home run to right field that got out in about 0.8 seconds.
Line drive off of Erod.
Yeah. I mean, he hit that ball with an absolute laser beam into the right field bleachers.
Oh yeah.
Like the guy can, and I love his ability to get his hands in, to keep his hands in and find the barrel on balls that are on the inner half of the plate. I think he's got a really special hit tool. And that wall got 100% got into his head. You don't go from hitting 33 home runs as a rookie to all of a sudden you drop down to 22, 18, 16, 13. Like that doesn't happen, unless you're in your head, in my opinion. So I'm excited to see what Ryan Mountcastle can do. You alluded to Colton Cowser, Heston Kjerstad. Well, we actually didn't talk about Heston Kjerstad, but you alluded to Mayo. Cowser, he's got to build off his Rookie of the Year runner-up season. He's got to learn to hit off-speed pitches, and he's got to become worthy of that 5th overall pick that was spent on him. Mayo, he's freshly 23. He just turned 23 on December 10th. The power is there, the arm's there, the success through each level of the minors is there. He has no position, but also nothing left to prove in the minor leagues as far as from the offensive standpoint. The Orioles need him to become that middle of the order presence. They need him to be. The question is his value higher to the Orioles on the roster or in a trade?
Oh, that's a tough question. That's a real tough question because as the roster stands right now, I don't think Coby Mayo is making the opening day roster.
No, he's not.
When I'm mapping out 26 players and that you're already going to have to leave off one of Ramon Urias, Jorge Mateo, Emmanuel Rivera, maybe even 2 of them, at this given moment, there's really not a spot for Coby Mayo to even serve a bench role.
Right.
So I do wonder if the Orioles are still trying to see if they can move Mountcastle in a trade and try to depend on Mayo in that first base role, or if they start him off kind of easing him into it with maybe a platoon with Ryan O'Hearn, and as the season goes along, start getting your everyday at-bats, move more into it. But you have to imagine that every single team that has a starting pitcher available in trade is calling the Orioles about Coby Mayo.
Oh, for sure.
And it doesn't seem like the Orioles are that eager to move him because I have a feeling if they were okay with moving Coby Mayo, I think Garrett Crochet would be in an Orioles uniform right now.
Yeah, I think he would be too. I think he would be too. And I'll tell you, we talked about Ryan Mountcastle, put up or shut up. That's where they're at with Heston Kjerstad. And it sucks because it's not his fault. The bout with myocarditis, and he finally comes back from that. And in his first spring training split squad game, he tears his hamstring trying to leg out a triple, misses a couple of months of the season. He's hit, and he's hit, and he's hit, and he's hit at the minor league level. He comes up to the majors, he hits, and then gets hit, in the back of the dome by a 97-mile-an-hour fastball. And he wasn't the same player after that.
No.
If Heston Kjerstad was made the number 2 overall pick in 2020. He's yet to seize an everyday big league role, and he's going to be 26 in February. I don't think he's a trade chip at all because he's going to be 26 by the time the season starts, and he has like 133 at-bats by the age of 26. He needs to play every day, and then they need to let him prove that he belongs. He can split time between DH and right field with Tyler O'Neill to keep both of them healthy. But Heston Kjerstad needs to come out in spring training, drive the baseball, and he needs to start hot for this team. And Brandon Hyde needs to get the hell out of the way and just let him play baseball. Just let the guy play baseball. You have so many guys on this team that I truly believe can be difference makers, but you're not letting them play. You're effing with them too much. Like we talked about with Westberg moving from third to second, from second to third, and Colton Cowser from left field to center field to right field. Then he's not playing, and then Heston Kjerstad, he has one game where he strikes out 3 times. He doesn't play for a week. Let these dudes play. You know, and
Yeah.
here's the other thing: is that like you have not adequately added to your roster. You can't win a division in April. You can lose a division in April. I understand that, but why not give them the first month to 6 weeks of the season and see what they can do?
Sure.
Why not? You know, like you already have a fan base that's sitting here like, you guys are going to suck this year. And they're not going to suck. They're not going to suck.
Oh, no.
It feels like it. It feels like it because of what the Yankees have done and what the Red Sox have done. But Kjerstad has got to be afforded the opportunity to play every day and prove that he can play every day and hit in the middle of this order.
Yeah. I mean, I think at this given moment right now, I'm not sure he's starting on opening day. I think a lot's going to come down to spring training and everything. It's just really who is in your lineup, at least against right-handed pitchers, between first base, right field, and DH. Is it going to be Mountcastle at first base with O'Hearn DHing, and then you're choosing between Kjerstad or O'Neill in right field? Or is it going to be a straightforward platoon of Mountcastle and O'Hearn with Kjerstad at DH and O'Neill in right field? There's a lot of different ways you can shake the lineup where someone is going to get pissed off that they're not in the lineup.
I don't know how you keep Ryan O'Hearn on this team.
It's tough.
I don't know how you justify picking up an $8.5 million option for a 32-year-old player who can't play first base, who can't play the outfield, and could barely hit, especially down the stretch. Like he was a really good hitter the first half of the year, but from July 4th on, he hit 231. He hit 231 with 4 home runs from July 4th on. Like, how does that guy get that option picked up at 32 years old? I would much rather have Ryan Mountcastle play first base every single day, and you split time between right field and DH with Kjerstad and Tyler O'Neill. Get right, and I don't have anything against Ryan O'Hearn. He blocked me on Twitter. Like
did he really?
He blocked me because I shit on him so much last year to start the year. But like I actually kind of took it personally when he was in the locker room after the Orioles clinched the playoff berth, and he was like, Twitter's not real, it's all talked about. I felt like he was talking to me. But I don't have anything against the guy. I like him as a hitter, but you're 32. You're not a good defensive first baseman. You're not a good defensive outfielder. You don't really play against lefties. And you hit 231 the last 3 months of the year. Why is he on this roster?
Yeah, I kept going back and forth with myself when we were in the time of wondering whose option is going to get picked up, who's going to get declined and everything. And the biggest toss-up for me was Ryan O'Hearn because of that $8 million option. And I was in a mindset of, I don't see how Ryan O'Hearn fits on this team in 2025. However, I could also see Ryan O'Hearn signing a contract for like a 2-year deal worth $12 million a year somewhere else. It's like with what guys are getting paid right now, Ryan O'Hearn is worth $8 million and probably a little bit more. It was just a weird fit altogether with how we saw that, okay, Kjerstad's going to be more of an option next year, and where's Mayo going to play, and all that. It was really curious on where can O'Hearn even fit. So,
well, and if you're going to make a trade, and part of your trade package is Ryan O'Hearn, who hit in the middle of the Orioles order all year, and he can, in people's eyes, he can DH, play first base, or play outfield. He doesn't do either of those two positions particularly well. You can do a lot worse than $8 million a year for the $8 million this year for a guy who can hit the middle of your order. He's had back-to-back pretty solid seasons for the Orioles. I'm ready to move on. I don't need a 32-year-old guy on this roster who, again, 231 the last 3 months of the season with no power. Like, yeah, for me, it's time to move on. It's time to move on from the segment, but there's one guy that we haven't talked about, Cedric Mullins. Cedric Mullins' Orioles days are numbered.
Yeah.
Cowser can play center field. Bradfield will likely climb to Norfolk this summer. Vance Honeycutt might be a year behind Bradfield in that climb. Mullins needs to have a big year to earn a multi-year contract next offseason, and what will likely be his only opportunity to cash in. From June 9th to the end of the regular season, Cedric slashed 276, 358, 474, 832 in 90 games with 12 home runs, 30 walks, and 20 stolen bases. if he can put up those numbers for a full season, the Orioles they may trade him at the deadline, or they may keep him, extend a qualify. He'd probably take a qualifying offer. I don't know if you would want to do that, but they may let him walk and get the comp pick for letting him walk, and then he ends up signing his only opportunity to get a multi-year, decent-sized contract. Big season for Cedric Mullins, and if he can do what he did from June 9th on, that's a player who can bat leadoff for the Orioles. A guy who can bat ninth and be like a second leadoff man for the Orioles. Cedric Mullins is quietly a very important player for this team in 2025.
Oh, big time. And there are so many what ifs with Cedric Mullins. Will he stay healthy the whole season? Will he be a platoon player? Is he going to play every day? Could he start out of the gate extremely cold, and then all of a sudden the Orioles have to make a big change, and then all of a sudden we see Colton Cowser as the everyday center fielder now, moving over from left, and now the outfield is Kjerstad, Cowser, and O'Neill. You know, there are people breathing down his back, not necessarily straightforward in center field, but there are other ways that they can finagle that lineup to make you a platoon player, Cedric Mullins. Where, as we saw this past season, whenever it was a lefty on the mound, Colton Cowser moved to center field.
Yeah.
And Mullins was out of the lineup. And that's how they got Austin Slater or Austin Hayes into the game, was against lefties and moving Cowser over to center field. That's possible we see that again. And I was absolutely impressed that Hyde actually started Mullins against Cole Reagans in the wild card game.
He's the only guy who hit the entire postseason.
Yep. He was the only guy who did it, and did it against the lefty. And Hyde even said after the game, I wanted him in there even against the lefty. I was like, okay, you're making sense to me now, Hyde. Good. But it's a huge year for both Mullins and the Orioles on what he does. Right now, I'm putting him in the bottom three of my order to open up the season. But he has a chance, like you said, if he can stay hot like he did in the second half of this season, or go back to that 2021 season and put up those numbers, he's in his walk year. You know, he needs to get that big payday. So
absolutely,
we could see Mullins be a pleasant surprise and be the leadoff catalyst for this team.
And it's up to him to do it. We know the abilities in there. He ended the season with a very high level of confidence in his ability to hit the baseball. I'm excited to see what he can do. He's a huge part of what this team should be able to do in 2025. All right, that segment brought to you today by Glenn Clark Radio. Today at PressBoxOnline.com, find the Glenn Clark Radio highlights from 2024 feature, including some of GCR's top interviews this year with the likes of Corbin Burnes, Nate Wiggins, Anthony Santander, Rashad Bateman, Cedric Mullins, Kyle Van Noy, and so many more. And as always, watch or listen to GCR every Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. at PressBoxOnline.com/radio, right here on Facebook and YouTube. All right. Oh, man. Somebody that I actually need to talk to is calling me right now. Of course they are. And I can't call them back because it's like a toll-free number. Anyway, moving on. Want to go around the league a little bit. We saw that Teoscar Hernandez re-signed with the LA Dodgers last night. 3 years, $66 million, $23 million signing bonus, $23 million deferred. I think he's getting like $12 million a year basically for that 3-year contract. Teoscar was a guy who I had circled on my wants list at the end of the season. It became apparent to me that if the Orioles were going to spend, it wasn't going to be on offense. And so that's when I diverted from that to Tyler O'Neill, and they ended up getting Tyler O'Neill. Not surprised that Teoscar stays in LA. He was a big player there, did some of his best work with the Dodgers. A lot of protection for him there. I'm not surprised to see him there. Cleveland. They trade Josh Naylor to Arizona. They signed Carlos Santana. The Rangers signed Jock Peterson. The Yankees signed Paul Goldschmidt. The Astros signed Christian Walker. Alex Bregman, because of the Christian Walker signing, he's likely done in Houston. And then reports are that the Mets and Pete Alonso are still reportedly far apart. The reports are that they're reportedly far apart. Any thoughts on these guys? Any chance that the Orioles still add another bat to the lineup? Because I don't think that they do. We just did a whole 35-minute segment on it. I just
No,
don't think
I don't think they add anyone of significance. I think we'll see some claims, some minor league deals with spring training, invites, or maybe just a lower end deal for another right-handed hitting outfielder, maybe one that can play center field. That'll be on the 2 to 3 million, a year. Just something low key that they're not strapped to, that they can walk away at the end of spring training, if not a big deal. I was really intrigued to see Christian Walker go to Houston. And that is a perfect part for him.
He's a good player, man.
It really it angered me a little bit because I actually saw Houston as a potential spot for Ryan Mountcastle trade if the Orioles wanted to center in on Framber Valdez, So I was like, okay, there goes that pipe dream. Got it. And really what I'm seeing the Astros doing and what they have done in the past, I see Mike Elias. And they're not going out there and spending huge amounts of money. They are okay with giving high annual values like they did just now to Christian Walker, but they're not signing anyone to long-term contracts. And that's what it's starting to feel like with Mike Elias. The biggest deal they ever gave anyone was the 2 different extensions for Jose Altuve for 5 years each. But they've signed Justin Verlander to shorter term deals for high annual values. They're okay with that. But they've let George Springer walk out of there. They've let Carlos Correa walk out of there. Alex Bregman is now out of there. They just traded Kyle Tucker with 1 year left till free agency, and they're listening to offers on Valdez. And I'm seeing them do all this. I'm just like, this is what it seems like Mike Elias is going to be doing here over the next couple of years in Baltimore. We're not going to see a long-term contract for anybody. We may see someone maybe like a Jordan Westbrook get extended. Maybe not the Gunner or of that magnitude. Maybe a Kowser or a Westbrook gets that extension, and that'll be it. But then everyone else, they're just finding ways to replace. And that's kind of what Houston's done.
Yeah, I mean, and Houston was right with Springer, and they were right with Correa. And, they traded Kyle Tucker after he spent most of the year on the IL with that shoulder issue. So they're trading these guys right as they're starting to sour, right as they're starting to go from ripe to, probably starting to rot a little bit, They've been right to this point. Kyle Tucker's amazing.
I would have loved him
Kyle
here.
Tucker. But I mean, you look at what happened to Cody Bellinger for a few years when he had that serious shoulder injury. Right. So you wonder what kind of impact that's going to have on Tucker moving forward. The Astros seem to know what they're doing, and to that point, maybe we need to give Elias more slack. I just can't right now. I just can't. I want to. I can't. I can't. Today's show brought to you by County Sports Zone. Find every score from every high school sporting event all year long at countysports.zone. Proudly sponsored by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. All right, just a few more minutes left on the show here. This is the time of the show where we get into our viewer interaction. Kyle Pitts, the tight end for the Falcons. Oh yeah. He said, "What about Justin Verlander as our number 5? I know he didn't have a good season last year, but maybe he bounces back. I've always wanted him with the O's. He's from Virginia, and I played at the same little league as him. Well, he was actually pretty solid until he got hurt. It came back for 2 starts in August, wasn't great, and he was terrible in September. I think that had a lot to do with the injury and the fact that he's 42 years old. I've thought about Verlander. I've thought about Scherzer. I think that they still can pitch. I don't think that they can stay healthy. And that's my big thing. And I don't think if Mike Elias, I don't think that he signs somebody that age for 1 year because he's already done that with Sagano, right? I don't think that he's going to take a flyer on either one of those guys because you're kind of cutting off your nose to spite your face. Because if they can't stay healthy and they haven't been able to the last few years, you're in the same position that you're in right now. So I don't think that's on the table.
And really, the Sagano signing was your number 5 move. Going into this offseason, you could see the Orioles adding a front of the rotation pitcher, whether it's an ace or just like a number 1, number 2, and a guy on the back end. Sagano was your signing for the back end. I'm done thinking about back end starters now.
Yeah, I want somebody who's at or near the top
Yes.
of the rotation. Just a bit outside, talking about Corbin Burnes. He just wanted to live in Arizona, guys mentioned, and kids are there. We didn't have a chance. I agree. I just the problem is that there doesn't seem to this point to have been a contingency plan for the inevitability that you were not going to sign Corbin Burnes back. Daniel Pitts, Paul, do you know anyone that bet on Corbin Burnes to re-sign with the Orioles? I know a lot of people that I have a lot of friends who are baseball guys who thought that maybe as the offseason went on and he still wasn't signed, that he could end up back here. My best friend in the world told me, he's like, I think he's signing here. But I don't know that anybody actually put a bet on it. I'm sure somebody did. And if you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit helpmygamblingproblem.org for free confidential.
I'm still waiting to cash in on Dexter Fowler. So
I know, right? Another early exit. Says just a bit outside. I can't remember what the end yes is alluding to. Is there any way Santander isn't signed in the spring training and O circle back and sign him for a team-friendly contract? No, because, and that's from Daniel Pitts. No, because Teoscar just signed. And so Santander is the best remaining outfielder on the market, a switch hitter who's hit a minimum of 28 home runs over the last 3 seasons, who just had a historic home run season as a switch hitter this year. I think only 2 other seasons were better than his from a switch hitter, power-wise. I wouldn't be surprised to see him signed in the next week or two by somebody. I'm looking at Toronto. I'm looking at potentially Cleveland, and I'm looking at potentially the Yankees or the Red Sox. Or the Nationals. I can see him staying in the American League East. I think Toronto screams.
Hey,
Anthony
he
Santander.
did say at the All-Star break when he was getting asked all the fun questions, what guy would you love to be a teammate with? He said Aaron Judge.
Yeah. Well, and I'll tell you, Anthony cannot hit in cold weather. We know that, right? So if you're going to play in cold weather, wouldn't you want to do it in the dome?
And don't you want to keep your beard?
Yeah, for sure. You're talking to 2 bearded gentlemen here. And I use the term gentleman loosely. Daniel says, why would this team trade prospect capital for a pitcher when we could have signed one of these free agents without the cost of a prospect? I don't understand how this team is operating. I understand what you're saying. The only explanation I can potentially give you is that essentially what they're doing is, if they want to sign Gunnar, if they want to sign Adley, if they want to sign Holiday, they can't have a $35-40 million pitcher taking up payroll 5 years from now when you're trying to.
And can I just add, and this is just total speculation by me real quick. Is there any chance that there's some Mike Elias ego in here where he wants to say, I built this roster with my own hands? And included in that is, if you acquire a Corbin Burnes by trading Joey Ortiz, someone who you drafted, I'm the one who drafted and developed a guy who could get me Corbin Burnes.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I think that I don't think that you can operate in this realm without a little bit of ego. It's just you can't let that ego take the forefront. Daniel also says Trevor Rogers will compete for the ace of Norfolk this year. If he's the ace somewhere, I guess you won that trade, maybe. I went nuts when they made that trade. Like I put up a 5-minute video of just a rant. Wall Street window. No need for people to panic on this. The Facebook people the Facebook Orioles people have been crazy for years. I had to leave every group I was in. They you find the most baseball savvy fans on social media apps like Blue Sky and X. Just the people who think that any team should be willing to trade you Aaron Judge for Enrique Bradfield are on Facebook.
Why don't we just acquire Mookie Betts in exchange for Ryan Flaherty? He's still on the team, right?
Yeah, right. And then look, I know people are watching us on Facebook. I'm talking about in these Orioles fan forums on Facebook, not the people watching our show. It is. I had to leave every group. I had to. Wall Street window. Hey, not all players are just after max possible money. Maybe some key Orioles will extend one day.
We'll see. I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah, man. I'll believe everything when I see it. Like, you can't get me to believe anything right now. Daniel says, did you see the stat that Gunnar led the league this past season on balls that were over the plate but low being called strikes? You have any thoughts? It seemed like the Orioles as a team. He's basically talking about close pitches that were clearly balls but called strikes. It happened a lot to Adley too. Happened a lot to Ryan O'Hearn. Ryan O'Hearn, when he struck out, it was hardly ever swinging. It was almost always on a pitch that was either right down the middle or
he
not
was getting
close.
ejected one way or the other.
Yeah, exactly.
It
It happened a lot to. Yeah, right. It happened a lot to O'Hearn. It happened a lot to Adley. It happened a lot to Gunnar. It happened a lot to just the Orioles in general. It felt like it was an epidemic with this team. Hopefully that changes for the better in the next season. Daniel says, here were the stats on that. Gunnar Henderson, 26. Jorge Soler, 16. Ellie De La Cruz, 16. Jock Peterson, 16 via baseball song. I mean, the fact that he was 10 higher than the next closest player, I mean, that's I don't have a rhyme.
I know in years past, the big person who got all these strikes called at him below the knees was actually Aaron Judge for a lot of years.
Mm-hmm. That's because he's 9
right,
and a half
exactly.
feet tall, and his knees are where everybody else's waist is.
So the balls be going at his shins, and then they were bringing them up.
Daniel Pitts, it sounds like someone could trade for Jordan Montgomery pretty cheap, and Arizona might use a significant portion of his contract to facilitate a trade. That I would be all for. I would be all for that if they wanted to try and go get Jordan Montgomery. Now that he'll have a full off season, full spring training, go make that move. I'm okay with it because I don't think he's the guy who pitched to a 6+ ERA last year. I know he's not that guy. Yeah. Randall getting here late. He's usually one of the big commenters. Sorry, and maybe this is why. Sorry, guys, I have no confidence in Elias and Hyde. O's are in serious trouble. Maybe Randall's defeated like the rest of us right now after getting that Corbin Burnes news, and he just could not bear to comment too much on the show. It's hard to have confidence in either one of them. I have never been a Brandon Hyde guy. I wasn't a Hyde guy his first couple of years here. I wasn't a Hyde guy in 2022 when I thought he single-handedly kept them out of the postseason. I thought they won in spite of him in 2023. And I think in 2024, you saw the warts of Brandon Hyde down the stretch. I don't think he made very many right decisions in 2024. Sorry that I'm blowing through this.
No, you're good,
I'm
man.
running late. Daniel Pitts, why do people keep mentioning Jack Flaherty? Trevor Bauer has a better chance than Flaherty ever playing here again. And by that, I mean a 0% chance. I don't think it's a 0% chance. I don't know how you justify it to your fan base, but it seems to me that Michael Elias doesn't give two craps about what the fan base thinks. Otherwise, Corbin Burnes and Tanner Scott and Max Fried would be here right now. I'd be shocked if Flaherty comes back, but I wouldn't rule it out. Randall says, why would any of the young guys want to extend on this team? Mountcastle, Mullins, and Mateo should be gone already. I think I need to talk Randall off the ledge.
I've already proven I'm not good at this, so
I'm
you
there.
got it.
Yeah. I'm with you, Randall, but again, David Rubenstein's first offseason owning the team. I think he's deferring to Elias. I'd be very interested to see how he intervenes moving forward. If the Orioles don't make a good run this coming season. Daniel says, August 3rd, 2022, Michael Elias expects the Orioles to try to make significance. Well, yeah. I mean, yeah. Mayo for Jared Johnson. Jared Johnson, is that his name? Or Seattle? I think he's talking about Jared Jones.
Okay, I'm like,
or Seattle's Bryce Miller.
Johnson. I'm like,
they're not going
to throwback.
Yeah, right. Or Jason Johnson. Maybe. I know a trade's coming. I hope it's not Mayo, but we'll certainly see. Daniel Pitts, the only free agents he assigned are Adam Frazier, Kyle Gibson, Michael Givens, Craig Kimbrell, Tyler O'Neill, and Gary Sanchez. You forgot about Jordan Lyles.
Oh man,
you forgot and Ruth Neto-Dor. And what the hell was his name last year? Matt Kemp.
Tony Kemp.
No, not Matt Kemp. Tony Kemp. Matt Kemp would have been nice 15 years ago.
Tony Kemp probably would have been nice 15 years ago as well.
Yeah, that's true. Why not Coco Crisp? Yeah. Daniel says Cedric Mullins is a trade piece deadline. He will not be on the team. Well, yeah, he's not going to be here after this season. It depends on how well he's playing. If he's playing okay and the Orioles can get something with him as part of a package, okay. But and then Randall says, I'd trade for Alcantara, Jay Johnson, or Miller or Castillo. Didn't Alcantara just
No,
get
it
traded?
was Luzardo who got traded.
Right, but I thought Alcantara was a trade piece.
He's been rumored
Maybe
in
not.
talks, but he's coming back off of his surgery now.
Yeah, he's a couple years
Mhm.
removed from being one of the best
Yep.
pitchers in the game. Deet says, I wonder if there's traction on those preliminary Adley extension talk rumors at the winter meetings had some truth to them.
I could see it, but I don't know why Adley would do it
It'd
right
be
now.
hard to sell that. And I don't know why the Orioles would give Adley 10 years as a catcher. I don't know why they would do that. Zach Moore, Colton Wong too, but he opted out. Thank God. I wanted no parts of Colton Wong on this team. When they signed him, I knew that Jackson Holiday wasn't making the roster. I was like, get out of here. Get right out of here.
And don't forget Alcides
Randall said,
Escobar.
Jared, I thought Cesar Torres. Randall says, Jared, I thought. His name is Jared, but it's Jared Jones, not Jared Johnson. Jared, you might be thinking of former Ravens linebacker Jarrett Johnson. But Jared Jones is his name. All right, guys, that's going to do it for us on today's show. Today's show has been brought to you by Project Game Day. Join Glenn Clark, Rita Hubbard, and Super Bowl 35 champion Femi Ayambadejo after every Ravens game this year for Press Box's Project Game Day, as they'll break down what happened in each game and what it means moving forward. Join the crew again next weekend following the Ravens-Browns regular season finale at PressBoxOnline.com/Game Day. Also, don't forget, it's going on right now, the Governor's Challenge. It's where the top high school basketball talent from across the country has returned to the Wacomico Civic Center. It started 2 days ago on December 26th. It runs through the 30th, which is Monday. You can witness 5 full days, or at this point, 3 more full days of elite competition featuring over 140 high school basketball teams. For tickets and info, visit govchallenge.org. All right, that's going to do it for us today on the Bat Around. Special thank you to Dillon Atkinson. Always great having you on the show, my friend. Thank you so much for being with us today. Thank you to all of our sponsors. Without you, we do not have a show. Thank you to all of our listeners, our loyal listeners, viewers, fans of the show. Without you, we absolutely do not have a show. Until next week and beyond, a little Buzz Lightyear for you.